Hey James. So every client that I decided to use this software to update their stuff with for today, unfortunately did not receive sound, which is just a simple button that you push to make that happen. But we're trying out a new software at Kabuki Strength, and this here is it. It's going to be really a lot easier to communicate and kind of to discuss different issues, maybe with movement or programming or whatever it may be. So I'm really excited to use it, but I prefaced the last video with I'm not the most techie guy, and it's a new system, so we'll see how it goes, which a bit ironic. But we got it up and working now, so we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and look at some of your videos here. So we'll start just by playing all of them. All right, so the biggest thing that I noticed is that we definitely can get better here. We've already gotten a lot better, which I'm really excited about, but there's definitely some more room for improvement here. As you can see, the squat, no spinal flexion, extension. I like what I see. I really like those shoes you got on too. I think those were a good help. Beautiful. So just continued on like that. I've already seen this video several times, but continued on like that. Looked really good. The only thing that I really want to improve is that starting position with our shoulder girdle and elbow. So biggest thing though, we went from out here to here. Huge improvement. Looks a lot better, and you're functioning a lot better, a lot more efficient. But I want to get to here. Ideally, when we're in a squat position, there's no wrist deviation. That's actually even more common. No wrist deviation. We can have a solid grip on the barbell. We can have our elbows tucked under us pretty well. And that's the only thing that allows us to actually be able to contract and use our lats, which are our spinal stabilizer. So very similar to a lat pull down exercise. That's the same motion we want to kind of emulate in a squat. But if we can't quite get there in the first place, then that's something we need to work on. So with the drills I've sent you so far, they already seem to be helping quite a bit. So we're on the right path. I'm going to send you some additional tissue work drills. In fact, I think I already did my first mess up drill, but definitely do those, hammer down on those. Let's go ahead and try those right before we actually squat. If you don't have a boomstick or pain pill or anything like that available to you, no big deal. There's a lot of other ways we can do this. Laying up against a wall like this, laying up against it, lacrosse ball, golf ball, lacrosse ball is actually much preferred, and actually working in this tissue and actually adding motion to it. So starting out here and adding motion to it as you're actually putting that tissue through the lacrosse ball being in there, deep in there, is going to be a really, really good way to increase our range of motion very quickly, and then also increase blood flow to this area so you can recover better. So there's a series of different things you can do. You can even lay down on it, roll around a little bit. Again, always adding movement's a good idea. Specifically, this one here, trying to get to the deepest range of motion in that position, the one that you're lacking in the squat, is going to be awesome. So again, we're just trying to get the maximal carryover to squat to benefit our positioning. Now, next video, go ahead and play this guy on. Bam. All right. So actually, this set looked a little bit better in elbow position, but it's basically the same story. We can just get a little bit better at it. I am noticing just a tidbit of flexion on the bottom in this one. Not bad, not anything worth worrying about, I would say. But if you see there in the lumbar portion of our spine, just a little bit of flexion on the bottom, but not something I worry about at all. Still looks very good. The ways that we can actually get better at that is just bettering our ability to brace and working on hinge mechanics right before our squat. It's going to be two really good ideas to help with that. But again, it's not at a point where I'd be too worrisome. Nice. Very good. Your pin squats look great. That was actually perfect. Now, sumo is something I want to work on. If you notice in that video, what we're doing to build tension is just kind of dropping our hips down and shooting our, well, just basically shooting our hips down. Now, you keep a neutral spine position, and the bar path looks great. So I'm not worried about it in an injury prevention standpoint, but I do want to make that lift more efficient. And the way we can do that is by bettering our tension building. So a big part of it is a cue that's going to benefit you. Two of them. There's two really big ones. Knees to plates and tension into the floor. So what I mean by that is the series of cues that has to be very consistent. You do every single time. Series of cues that I like to use for most people, including myself, to really increase the efficiency of a deadlift is going to be first hinging down to the barbell, hinging down, grabbing barbell. Third, we're going to go ahead and breathe and brace. Fourth, we're going to go ahead and pull the barbell in, depress our scapula, and try to actually engage our lats. Now, the fifth thing we do before we build tension or change hip position whatsoever, we're actually going to immediately put pressure into the floor. Similar to it, and basically you're putting so much pressure on the floor with your feet that if you didn't have a barbell in your hands, you just shoot up. You might even jump up. That's how much tension you're putting into the floor. And that alone should cause the bar to bend a little bit. Or start to come off the ground a little bit. Now, once you actually start going knees to plates, it's a big part. We're not just bringing our knees forward. Once you go knees to plates, hips closer to the load, and chest up, the combination of that motion there, then the bar goes from here to here, or the weight comes up and then you shoot up. So that's probably the biggest thing that we can improve on sumo. I'm not too crazy worried about. We can just get more efficient at it and handle heavier loads because of it. And one of the best parts about sumo, I know one of the muscle groups you want to improve on is glutes. Well, guess what? Glute minor, the top part of the glutes, that it's just a beautiful muscle to have. That is the best way to build it, is by going really heavy in sumo deadlifts. The adaptations that come from that are the table what do they call it? Tabletop part of the glutes. But anyways, so that's going to be a really good beneficial thing for you to work on, is handling heavier loads there and getting better at tension building. I'll send you a video. I think I may have already sent you it before, but we'll go ahead and look at it again to review. And yeah, you can see knees come forward. Knees need to come to plates though, and our hips just drop down instead of getting closer to the load. That's probably the biggest things there. But moved well, looked good. All right, so I think that's it for these guys here. Next, let's go ahead and look at programming. So, going to the 11th. All right, so we are going to be in our last few weeks of the 5-rep cycle. Once we are done with this, we are moving on to triples. Most of our lifts are going to be triples. But as you can see, all of our working sets in squat, bench, deadlift, our main sets are going to be sets of 5 right now. After this final week here, we're moving on to triples, and we're going to start getting more into mechanically advantage movements. So there's going to be things like intermediate deadlifts, where you start with the deadlift higher off the ground to shorten the range of motion, and other things is going to allow you to handle heavier loads and gain more tensile strength in your ligaments and tendons. I also want to get into a little more dynamic stuff with our accessories, especially because you're starting to ramp up your running as well. But yeah, so, and also on top of that, I'd love for you to send any aesthetic goals you have. I know glutes was a big one that we're already killing right now. As long as we're performing the glute ham raise properly, the RDL and the step ups should be killing it in that area. But any more aesthetic goals you have, please let me know, because it's going to be the big kind of shift in training where we can cater more and more to them. But yeah, so really like what I'm seeing. Tracking your input of data is looking really good. Videos are getting better weekly. Let's just work on increasing that range of motion you have, bringing those elbows down so we better utilize our lats and better our position. For 1, 2, let's go ahead and get better at tension building the sumo. And lastly, just send me over any aesthetic goals you have, because I definitely want to cater to those. And right now is a perfect time to start working towards them.